What's up everybody, I'm Derek, this is Rocking eForge, and today I'm going to be making a twisting wrench out of this adjustable wrench that I got at Harbor Freight. So, let's get rocking. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do for this project is I'm going to go ahead and ignore all of this horrible stuff. I'm going to cut that off. But I'm going to forge out a handle to relatively match the handle on my bending wrench that I made here a few videos ago, because I just want it to look a little nicer than just kind of the standard. You could do anything with a bending wrench, or with a twisting wrench rather. Just weld on any old piece of steel and call it good. But I like to make my pieces look just a little nicer, and as such, I'm going to take this 3/4 inch round stock, forge it square, make a little nice twist into it, and then weld it to the wrench in order to make a nicer looking twisting wrench than if I just used a just blank piece of steel. On second thought, I'm going to see if I can use a lot of this material here at the end and turn it into a tail for a loop, like I have on my on the handle of my bending wrench. And then I'll cut off whatever turns out bad. All right, so my goal here is to just forge this down to 1/2 inch square, which I'm getting pretty close to, but I want a full foot of handle here. Might be a lot of work, but that's all right. We're gonna keep going. All right, let's check length here. Made it to about 9 inches. I'm going to go ahead and check the length of this handle here. It's about a 9-ish inch handle, and I'm thinking this is about 10-ish inches from the jaws, and if I've got 9-ish inches from there, I think that'll look pretty balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and square this up to a 1/2 inch square all the way down. It's still a little thick down here at the termination of the handle. So I'm going to do all the things to make it look nice, and then cut this off and prep this in for a weld, and we'll get this welded up and ready to twist some stuff. Just over a 1/2 inch, pretty well all the way down. I'm going to take one more heat to just kind of even everything out on the surface, and then I'm going to forge in the corners just to kind of soften the handle so it's not so sharp and kind of reduce the rough texture on my hand while I'm using it. And then we'll get a twist in this, and I'm probably going to do a split twist like I did on my bending wrench. This thing's getting hot, so I'm going to cool down my handle, so to speak, and then I'll come back and work out this this tail loop that I got going on before we end up twisting. All right, so I'm working on this, just forging out a taper here, and I'm making sure that I'm not allowing this shoulder, which I'm going to do a little bit of hammer work to refine here. So I'm making sure to not let this shoulder contact the anvil up like that, because that would cause deformation in that shoulder and end up not looking as good. And so you're going to see me doing a lot of the tapering work up here and then moving back to the near edge of the anvil to refine the mass of the steel that is closer to that shoulder, just so that I'm not striking on it with the hammer or messing things up by trying to hammer on things with the shoulder contacting the face of the anvil. Oh. Man, ow. A nice explosion of forge scale right into my face. It's a public service announcement to always wear your safety glasses. That hurt. Thankfully I was. Go ahead and just try to brush off some of that extra scale there. All right, so I've got that, I think, about where I want it. Probably do a little refinement of the tip off camera, but next heat we're gonna go ahead and forge in the loop and then knock down all the corners on here and get to the twist. Cooled off a bit too much of that. I didn't forge down that corner. I'm gonna have to go ahead and untwist that, and I'm gonna try to get this into a better shape, a little wider loop. It ended up a little bit too skinny. And that's because I cooled off so much of that. All of this portion of the loop just stayed straight and ended up too skinny, not enough shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and redo that. This is turning out very interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and come back and adjust it with my scrolling tongs just to try to even everything out, make it look a little nicer. Next heat, I'm gonna come in with my chisel and start chiseling down the middle of each of these faces, and then we'll get this in the vise, twist it up, and get this thing welded together. Wow. Okay, this thing is long enough that I need to straighten it out in the middle of the chiseling. Okay, another heat. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and touch mark this before I do the twist, so I'm not messing with it, trying to keep the twist from getting messed up. And then give this a nice brushing. Try to get rid of as much of that forge scale as I can. All right, so now it's time to put in the twist. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat this whole thing up as hot as I can get it without it burning, obviously, and then go lock it in the vise down here. I'm gonna cool off the tips so that when I come and put the jaws of the wrench on here to twist it, there's no major deformation. Let's get this back in the fire and get this finished up. And this is going to illustrate really nicely why I need this bending wrench, or twisting wrench rather. It's because I'm gonna use this wrench and I'm gonna come in here, up here, and then in order to get an even twist, I need to come at it with another wrench just to lock it together, just to make sure I'm getting force in both directions. And if I just had a handle on the end of this, attached to this wrench, I wouldn't need to worry about having 2 wrenches or getting a crazy bend out of it. Kind of gives you that power to twist. There we go. Grab my brush here. Like I said a minute ago, this will really nicely, the twist itself frees up a lot of that forge scale, and then you just gotta brush off the rest of the piece in other spots. And I'll clean that up toward the end, obviously. Just prior to welding, it ended up pretty straight, maybe a little bit that direction as well. So heat this back up and take it to the stump so I can kind of whack it back straight. Do one more brushing here while it's still hot. All right, so it's time to cut this handle off. Just come into the bandsaw to do that. All right, so now it's time to clean this up on the grinder and prep for a weld. And I'm gonna end up grinding this kind of at an angle, taking away the material to create a kind of a void space to fill with weld. So let's go. All right, so I've got the wrench now fit up on just a piece of angle iron, and I'm just gonna tack this into place and then weld it up now that I've got it all prepped for the weld. And this is the prep work I did for the weld. Welders, please don't come for me. It's ugly. It's definitely going to need some wire wheeling. I'm going to take this to the wire wheel and get this thing cleaned up. All right, so I'm going to really briefly show you this super ugly weld that I did, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the grinding belt to smooth all that out and make it look prettier, because I am a blacksmith and not a welder. All right, so now it is time to test this thing out, just for the fun. I'd say that works pretty well. It's a nice thick piece of steel, this railroad spike. I twisted it like butter. Alrighty, that is going to do it for this project and for today's video. I think this thing turned out pretty great. It works well, which is all I actually need it to do. And after the grinding, I think it looks pretty good as well. The twist feels good in the hand. The loop turned out better than the first attempt that I made on it. And this should be a very useful tool to have in my shop. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, leave a comment, hit subscribe, or ring that notification bell. If you want to support me in the channel further, please consider becoming an honorary striker on my Patreon. That link is in the description below the video. Or please consider becoming a member on my YouTube channel. And as always, keep on rockin'.